back to the agenda here. Can I just get a thumbs up if you see the agenda on the screen? Perfect. All right, so thank you so much, Annie, for sharing the history of this work. It was just really important to me knowing that this is a time of transition for a lot of us, that we honored the work that's happened in the past. And it was just a good reminder in how far we've come as a group with literacy coaching. So everything Annie shared is in this first section of the agenda. If you want to reference back to that, the Slido information is there. The Zoom details here. Just to reiterate the importance of putting that G in front of your name if you are, not only if you're in a group, but if at some point you're unable to participate in a breakout room, that G will just help us as we're sorting rooms out. We just really want the people who are independent today on their own to be able to have some collaboration time. So if you don't have a G in front of your name, we'll be able to put you in rooms together. All right, I am going to pull these slides up and share with you a little bit about myself. So my name is Michelle Goaley, and this is just a little bit about my background. I started out as an elementary teacher. I've taught just about every elementary grade that there is, and then transitioned into an ELA instructional coach for kindergarten through 8th grade. So that was a big lift, and that was about 15 years ago. And I always mention that I was coaching before the essentials, and as I've been working through in learning and supporting coaches, the biggest wish I have is that I would have had those coaching practices and those essentials, back then when I had started coaching. I was an elementary principal, spent some time as a curriculum director doing some state and federal programs work. I currently am the director of instructional services for Bay Aranac ISD, and I also support IOSCO RESA. And I've been the co-chair of the Early Literacy Task Force for 2 years. At this time, I have been supporting some MAISA projects and have accepted the position of project director for early literacy professional learning. I will be retiring from Bay Aranac at the end of December and will be full-time at MAISA in January. So juggling a lot right now and appreciative of all the partners that have helped support the development of today. And I just really think you're going to have a great experience today, thanks to the teamwork of everyone. So this is just a little bit of specialized experience. I do facilitate MyKIP in several ISDs across the state. So I'm sure there are some coaches on this meeting that I've worked with through the lens of MyKIP work as well. So just wanted to share a little bit about me so you know where I've come from. And I am so excited to step into this world in a more full-time capacity. Just a lot of different avenues of work at an ISD, and the one I am the most passionate about is the literacy coaching work. So it's just a blessing for me to be able to be entering this space. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Heather. She is going to be supporting facilitation today, and I'd love for her to share a little bit about herself.
Good morning. My name is Heather Phelps. I currently am an educator on loan with MAISA as an early literacy professional learning coordinator with a focus on leadership. I have also been in the classroom, elementary and middle, anything from K through 8 in my experience there, as well as an interventionist. Coaching, again, I coached elementary through 12th grade as a district coach, also before the essentials came out. And then also I went to the ISD to become an early literacy coach, just like those of you in this room, and moved into that coaching coordinator role for a time before I became an instructional director at Saginaw ISD. I then went back to my local home and did the work of the curriculum director at that central office space. And I've been on the early literacy task force since 2016. So pretty early on, those first couple of meetings I was in as those were being developed. And I'm also very passionate about this work and have all of my career since joining that team has been focused on doing what I can to support teachers and students in that work. I do have a few special literacy projects that I have done or participated in with MESA or that I'm currently doing. Right now, I currently work with the leader support, so principals, leadership teams, districts, for example, working on the 10 commitments, providing tools and supports for principals. I'm also a coach and intensive facilitator. I've worked with the Michigan Learning Channel, and I also was part of a team that helped to develop the pre-K, K3, and coaching modules. So couldn't be happier to be here and help facilitate this learning for you, and knowing that what you bring to this is where that knowledge really is where you learn from each other, and how important that is to help us all grow as a network. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. So just wanted to take a minute as an engagement activity and just have you do a little bit of reflection. Take a minute and think about something that an educator did in your district, building, ISD recently that was significant, outstanding, showed kindness, etc. Just take a minute and kind of get that person's name in your mind. We're going to ask you to jot that person's name down. If you have notes next to you or a sticky, just go ahead and put that person's name down. And during break or lunch, we're going to ask you to send that person a text thanking them or acknowledging them for something that they did that you noticed that was above and beyond. In addition, as we're thinking about this being a transition time, we would love for you to take a moment to thank Erin, who has helped in developing the wonderful work that has happened in this network. I have linked the Google Doc on the agenda, and I repeated the link during the break and the lunch time. So if you don't get a chance to do it right now, you can go ahead and open it up during break or lunch. Our intent is to share those sentiments with Erin in a meaningful way. So if you've been working with her and you would just like to put a couple notes in there, I'm sure that would be much appreciated. All right, I'm going to switch back here to the agenda for us to take a look at a few routines that we'll be practicing today. So you're going to hear us using the terms events, routines, roles, and tools quite often today and in the network moving forward. This is common language in order for us to strengthen our system. We have worked side by side with the math network and the early math essentials work, and just feel that we're heading into a space where the more consistent language that we use, the better our system is going to be for it. So you'll see that noted throughout the agenda, and we'll be sharing with you some specific routines. So in starting here, this document is going to give you an idea on who is on the task force and where are they from. So Heather and I both mentioned that we have had experience on the task force for a while now. I took over as a co-chair of the task force last year with Shelley Goal, that many of you might know as well. This will show you in each MESA region who the task force representative is. So as we have begun to transform some of the work in the task force, we are looking to make sure that representation is equitable across the state and that we have voices from all over the state. And the reason being is that this task force is essential in planning what the work looks like for this network and how healthy our system is moving forward. So the task force has developed over time. You saw pictures earlier of, I know Naomi was mentioned, Susan Townsend, Sean LaRosa, Kyle Mayer, all of those wonderful leaders in education who started the task force work have so kindly passed the torch on to Shelley Goal and I to continue. We have set that task force up to be a revisioned leadership team. Our leadership team is about 6 to 8 members, and it is balanced between task force members and employees or educators on loan from MAISA. So over time, we realized the importance of the personnel at MAISA being able to move the work forward in their roles, where many of us task force members have full-time positions in our ISDs and in locals. So we have kind of revisioned what that work looks like and committed to work groups that will help to be very intentional in how we balance the work. One of those work groups is specifically professional learning for the coaching network. So that transition was made in the spring, and that team at our first task force meetings, our first 2 meetings, spent time reviewing all of the feedback from all of the coaching network sessions last year. And in doing that, we developed some themes and looked at what would be best practice for us to move this network forward based on the coaching practices and the feedback from the teams. So I'm going to share a little slide here with you. And some of the main feedback that we heard was that we really want to model what we're expecting of our coaches. And so knowing that effective literacy coaches apply adult learning principles in their work. Starting with some of the feedback we heard was about making sure that there's immediate relevance and application in the content that we are sharing with you. And knowing that that focus should be on classroom instructional practices that foster literacy development. So we're hoping that throughout today, you're going to see some immediate application of some of your learning today. Another piece is planning and voice in your own learning. So, through the routines that we've put in place at Task Force, we were able to really go through and filter through all of the feedback from past coaching network meetings and help you have a voice in what today will look like and what our network series will look like. We know that adults learn from reflecting on the problems that arise, the challenges that arise, and implementing new skills. So we hope to create some collaboration spaces that will allow for that reflection to happen. And finally, connecting new and past learning. So that was evident in Annie's story of where we've been and where we're going. We really want to make sure that we're connecting the new learning that we have to past learning that we've experienced as well. All right, so today's content is going to include changes in the legislation, a Q&A with Nell Duke, shared learning on the 4-5 essentials. We are going to also explore thinking traps through the lens of literacy. Annie's going to take us through some great updates from MLC and connecting the learning that we'll do throughout the morning. And then we're going to talk a bit about what the future will look like for our group. So just a few logistical pieces. This agenda is designed a little bit differently, but hopefully to help you navigate easily. If you click on your tab on the side, you will see that there is an outline here of all of our topics for today. So if at any point you come back to this agenda and you say to yourself, I just want to go to the Q&A piece with Nell Duke, that will take you directly there. We're coming back to, our routines and talking about where did they have that ELTF membership slide. You'd be able to find it easily. So the navigation should help you make things a little bit more efficient. And we are also transitioning, although we have lots of slides we are sharing with you for the virtual presentation, any links are all going to be on the agenda. You won't have to click into a slide deck to find a link. So in the future, when you're coming back to this work, say that there's something that you want to do with a group of teachers in a district, you would just come back to the agenda and be able to find it without clicking through slides. So trying to make this as applicable as possible and for that immediate application. All right, so our organization routines here. One thing I want to take you through, we are having some updates on this literacy essentials page. What I want to make sure that everyone is aware of is you will need to click on this login button to access everything from the network. You do not have to log in on the website. You just have to be added to the Google site page. So if you click on ISD literacy coaches, you should see everything that you're going to need for your work. If there's something that's not necessarily working correctly, it is behind the scenes in the work. And I will say Michelle Wagner has been such a great asset to this, getting things organized and making sure that we have access. So if you click on quarterly meetings right now, our October meeting, you would have your sign in, your agenda, and your Zoom link. And everything is up to date as of this morning. So thank you, Michelle, for helping support that. So that is another routine I want us to just be familiar with. And if you are not able to access that Google site for any reason, I have Liberty's email address here. Just shoot her an email and let her know what ISD you're from, and she will make sure that everything's up to date. The coaching coordinators do get a form to complete when they have a new coach, but we realize that some hiring practices may have, allowed for coaches to be hired very recently. So if you need to be added, just shoot Liberty an email and she'll make sure that everybody's up to date. All right, some tools you're going to see a lot today that will be our routines for feedback and collaboration. I know Slido has already been used, and Annie shared that with us. The purpose of using Slido, we would like to gain group feedback and gather group reflections in order for planning purposes. We also want to make sure that you have a space for Q&A. Sometimes when we have a large virtual meeting like this and we're using
I'll
the
bring it back at the end
chat,
of the day, okay?
we may
Is that good?
miss out on some of the Q&A pieces, and it's very difficult to organize a chat after a meeting. So if we're using Slido, it will just help us to really be intentional about planning and collecting your thoughts and feedback. The use of the breakout rooms today, the purpose will be to allow you to network and collaborate and develop ideas with colleagues. So that's where you're going to get the opportunity to really share your own experiences and work through some of the challenges you might be having in that collaborative space. And again, if you're in a room full of people, that's great. And you have the G on your name, we'll know that your collaboration is going to happen live in that space. And if you don't have a G in front of your name, we're going to pair you up with colleagues that you'll be able to have those really intentional conversations with. The chat, we're going to try to keep the chat just to urgent questions and logistics. So I've already seen it used intentionally that way. If you need access to an agenda, anything like that that's logistical, Annie's going to be behind the scenes helping to make sure that that's running smoothly. And then the final thing is really just the application of learning. And we're going to provide some protocols for you to reflect, but we want you to use what's best for you. I know my preference often is to write things out that I want to remember and come back to. So if that's, you have a notebook in front of you that you use and love, go ahead and use that. Sticky notes can be just as effective. If for you, you just want to talk about it with the person next to you when you're in a room, go ahead and do that. Some of you might have typed notes. So just know that those application of learning protocols will be whatever works for you, but we just want to make sure we provide time and space for you to have an opportunity to reflect. And then finally, before we get into some of the main content, our norms for these meetings are linked here. So we've got just our norms that I'm sure you've seen many times, our norms of collaboration. And I'm going to ask that you focus in on paying attention to self and others today. And I say that as we are in a new space with new people and new leadership, and we're giving each other grace in how we're navigating the facilitation here. Know that when you're in some of those breakout rooms collaborating, that you really want to allow for your voice to be heard, but also to hear the voice of others. So focusing in on that one today might be really beneficial for all of us.